Hello, Jimjamatic here. Welcome to a brand new episode of Robot Wars Episodes Reviews. Shall I just say it out now? We're here. We are here.
Woo!
Series 3. Oh my god, we're finally here. It took us about three quarters of a year to get here, but we're finally here. We're out of Series 2. No more Gauntlet and no more Trials as main events. They reduced to side events for the most part. And joining me on this adventure is the rambling dude, which is Anderson9132. Come on.
Hi, I am now the rambling, psychotic, slightly miffed, always drunk loser, Anderson 9132.
What's new?
Ever since Hobgoblin's loss.
Oh, you'll never get over that. Come on.
I know.
Come on.
My alcohol addiction has risen even higher than it already was.
I mean, come on. We got Thor and concussion at least. Come on, that'll cheer up.
Yeah,
that'll be pretty cool. That'll be cool. Plus, we got the return of Foxy and the return of the 13 Black in heavy metal in some ways.
I know.
Pretty cool. But we're not talking about the new series. We're talking about the old series and Series 3. Now, this series is a big improvement for one major reason. As I mentioned before, very briefly, that the Gauntlet and Trials have been removed permanently as a main event. They are no longer a deciding factor in what robot gets through. Although they still used them in the auditions. Okay.
Yes, I never understood that.
No.
That was a bit stupid.
I don't. From Series 4 onwards, they use battles as auditions. But the main thing is, this is all a knockout tournament. There's no wild cards. There's no weird grand final where they all go together. There's no stock robots. There's no really horribly terrible semi-finalists for the most part. The robots for the most part improve dramatically. You actually get some robots that can destroy other robots now. Hypnodisc, cough cough. You got Birth of Legends, Chaos 2. You can get some robots that might in the future do better, a little bit better, like Thermidor, Dominator, etc. And the arena is so much better now. There's no PPZ. It's back to how it was in Series 1, which I don't get why they changed that. Have it in corners. We have two new additions to the Warzone. We have the pit. Obviously, that was old, of course, but now the pit is closed up during the heat finals, so they can't just dump him in the pit like
the heat finals, semi-final, and grand final, wasn't it? That the pit was closed up.
Yeah, there was no tough as nails nonsense in this. In these nonsense. We have the floor flipper, which is a bit underutilized in the series. Granted, it's not as like in Series 4 onwards, where they just basically used it as a torture device for wrecked robots, and in Series 8 and 9 where it flips like every goddamn second, like in Robot Arena 2. Which I do find it entertaining though when it does that. And we also have the more floor spikes. We have the little set of 5 near the top left, and we have the massive, I can only describe as what Mr. Psycho calls it, the floor dildo, that shoots out of the front, and it's ruined many battles this series. We'll get to them when they get to them. It's not a big player in this heat, but next heat, whew, yeah, we'll get to that one. But the biggest improvement, I think, besides the robots themselves, are the house robots.
Yes, definitely so. They actually have weaponry that works.
Yes, they actually are competent. Matilda still has a chainsaw, granted. I mean, we'll talk about Matilda. Matilda's not changed that much. She's just got better hydraulics on her tusks, and the chainsaw's just slightly better, only slightly. It still doesn't do anything in the series. In Series 4, by Series 4, it was just a cosmetic thing. Let's face it.
Series 4 annihilated Dreadnought. Can't take that way.
Yeah, it did that, I guess. Shunt doesn't change too much apart from that he gets a proper axe now, which actually does damage this series. It can actually go through armor. I know, not just little bullet holes that it does to panic attack, like proper chunks out of armor, which is amazing, and decapitating.
The aim of it is much better now.
And decapitating a certain little toy, which we'll get to that in the future episode. Dead Metal loses his stupid saw and gets a little crusher on the front now, which actually does a decent amount of damage to some robots at this stage of the competition. It breaks a bit of armor, and also there's flamethrowers there because. Why the hell get rid of it? Deator still exists.
Yes.
Sir Kill-A-Lot, while he's cosmetically not too much different, his weapons are actually improved. He's got a drill instead of a lance. So he can actually do a little spiral, like grab a robot and just fling him everywhere. He also gets his claw, because it used to be just I think it was just ripped off a Jaws of Life that he used to get people out of wrecks, I believe. It was just one of those. And in Series 3 he got his custom grabber, which is maintained to this day. He's got his and also he managed.
Actually, Series 3 kid lot still had the small claw. Series 4 kid lot onwards had the big claw.
Ah, okay. I think it was different from 2 to 3, but I think they definitely improved it by Series 4.
Yeah, there was a difference between 2 to 3, but they went from it being like a small little cutty thing to being a proper full-on grab you, pick you up, throw you around.
Yeah,
thing.
and of course he gained his signature death spin, where he picks a robot up and spins him around for no other reason than it's just entertaining as fuck. And also the best house robot, still my favourite, because of the Series 3 upgrade, he's not really changed that much. Actually, a lot of the house robots, honestly, have kind of gained their signature look apart from Matilda's flywheel. The robots basically stay the same thing, but Dead Metal, from Series 1 and 2, his crap little sword that did nothing, and now it pierces through everything. It cuts little holes in it, can break off useless axes, it can do anything. And
the sparks are beautiful. They literally made my dreams.
It's so great. I mean, even in the new series, it managed to cut holes in front of Cherub. It's doing its work even now, and it's still as entertaining as it used to be. And he's the reason why he's my favourite house robot. He's got the grabbing jaws, which can grab things. The sword does a lot of damage. He's very hard to flip over, but Apollo and Gravity somehow managed to achieve that. You need a lot of power to flip that robot over.
Yes.
So enough rambling about...
Fun fact about Dead Metal, it was originally going to be painted pink.
I'm so glad they didn't do that.
Yes.
I
think it would have looked pretty good red, though.
No, yeah, maybe. I think he works fine with that
like
kind
a
of...
rusty
I think,
red.
maybe, but I think he deserves the kind of bluish grey colour he has. He maintains. And also, I mean, you don't get anything as crap as, like, Cassius Chrome levels. But he'll never be named until Series 7. And believe me, he is...
Chrome isn't too bad, in all fairness. It was quick.
but then there's robots that are just... Yeah, but Shumi proved that speed is nothing when you haven't got control or any worthwhile weaponry on you. Just little boxing gloves. But we'll stop talking about the actual house robots and talk about the robots. Now, you think they've improved this series, and... Some have.
They have.
Yeah, but I'd say for the most part, I'd say there are a good chunk of robots still that are pretty crap. But that happens every series for the most part until around Series 8 in the the rebooted series, where pretty much every robot is at least tolerable.
There was quite a large evolutionary jump between Series 2 and 3, if you ask me.
Yes, I would agree with that.
A lot of Series 3 robots were better than a lot of the Series 2 robots, definitely.
Oh yeah, I mean, although at the same time though, with the accentuation on battling, the bad robots really stand out now.
Yes.
I mean, for example, something like Groundhog can sort of get under the radar, or something like Brute, because they didn't really get Brute because didn't get very far or something like that, but Groundhog just didn't do anything half the time and got through rounds somehow. But then, when you get into the battles, there's no hiding place. And unfortunately, your shitness will shine. And, so there are actually 8 robots now per heat instead of 6, so if you want loads of shit robots, you get more of them. And the built up obviously is the classic format for this series is 4 battles of 2, then 2 battles of 2, then the heat final. There's no wild cards, so if you go out, you're out unless you get let in. And also before we start the heat, I also going to mention Heat D is when we have Alex the Hunted joining us for this new series. So if you're waiting for him, if you don't care about Anson and Sam somehow. Then you just
Jesus.
I mean, no. I just said if. I didn't say if. I appreciate you. Don't worry. Without you, this was just me rambling to myself.
By the way, Alex, I don't know about what James told you, but there is no pay packet for this.
No.
He wrote me in with money. I have still received nothing.
No, you
suffering through series 1 and 2. Why do I even turn up still?
I don't know. Seriously. Loyalty at this point.
What loyalty? Wow, okay.
No, loyalty. Loyalty.
Oh, loyalty. I think it's royalty.
No, not royalties. No, but anyway, enough of the rambling. We're going to get to the actual robots of this heat. And as always, we'll start with the heat winner and go backwards through the rounds. And let us start with the heat winner, pretty deservedly, I'd say. Mace 2. Now, Mace 2 looks pretty much identical to Mace 1. In many ways.
I don't really know what they did. I think they did internal upgrades, didn't they?
There's one major difference, that Mace's lifter actually lifts now. Because in Series 2, you ever notice that the lifter didn't go higher than the robot? It would just lift like a few centimetres up the ground, and that would be it. This thing actually lifts full upwards. And for some reason, Mace were given a better flipper, but were blessed with robots that couldn't be turned over. Everyone they fought in this heat were invertible in some ways. Wheelie Wacko, Stinger, and Suicidal Tendencies are all... I mean, 2 of them are thwack bots. Those things are built to go anywhere they want. I mean, it'd be just their luck to face Pussycat in the semi-finals one day. It'd be just like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
But, Mace 2 is at least an improvement. It's a little bit faster this time, because it was a bit slow in Series 2, and as I said, those kind of things didn't matter. But in Series 3, it does matter.
Yeah, it went from 6 miles an hour to, I think, 10?
Yeah, it's noticeable. The 4 miles, that makes a difference, and it's at least more manoeuvrable this time. The trolley wheels aren't as annoying to their steering. And,
very powerful.
I mean, it's weird because we're starting off with the first robot, but there's not much to say about Mace 2, because a lot of it is very similar to Mace. It's still got this token flail. Can I really call it that at this point? They don't even use it. It's just there because the original Mace had it. It's like Sergeant Bash's flamethrower.
Shane Howard's beard of brilliance.
It is brilliant. I mean, again, I love this team again, and they come back later on with Gemini in Series 4. Gemini isn't a bad robot, but as I'll say later on, it's one of those robots that's innovative, but didn't really do anything, really. It was too light to do anything, each robot. And it kept fucking up constantly. It just kept getting stuck on its back. I don't know how this robot does this, but it just kept doing it. And...
it had a wheelie bar.
It did, and that kept getting stuck. Kept getting stuck in its wheelie bar. But Mace 2, it's probably one of the better robots in this heat, hence why it won, mainly because of experience alone.
I do love Mace. It's one of the better robots of the series, I'd say. Because in all fairness, I mean, making 2 consecutive semi-finals is something to be sneezed at. It's pretty impressive stuff. And unfortunately, like you said, but there's just not much we can say about it because it's virtually identical to its predecessor.
Actually, we're talking about semi-finals. Actually, unlike in Series 5 to 6, where pretty much every semi-finalist made it through again, in Series 3, only 3 semi-finalists make it to the semi-finals who were semi-finalists in Series 2. Panic Attack, Mace, and who's the third?
Beast of Bobbin.
Beast of Bobbin, that's it. It's a roadblock. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's it. Everyone else falls at the first or second hurdle. Some at the last hurdle. And
I'm
many
trying
do.
to think now.
There's no one else.
Many parts of semi-finalists that made it to a heat final.
Behemoth, Mortis, King Ultron didn't come back. Cassius 2 went out. King Buxton went out. Facet went out. Plunderstorm went out, and Hardvat went out. Yeah, literally just those 3.
Yeah, no, I was trying to figure out how many minutes to the heat final. Only 3 minutes to the heat final.
Yeah, King Buxton. Yeah, it's not
half the lineup. That's half the lineup already gone.
But at the same time, though, this shows that the evolution alone. It's why I like Series 7, because Series 7 gives us a lot more new robots to see in semi-finals and grand finals, which is nice. Especially those robots like Bulldog Breed who just didn't get a chance every single time. They just kept getting beaten by a Hypnodisc. But so that was Mace 2. It was just a better version, a slightly better version of Mace, and it's slightly heavier. That was Mace 2. Now the runner-up was Suicidal Tendencies. I will admit this is probably their worst version of Suicidal Tendencies, but again, it is the first one. The Series 4 version. I love
Suicidal Tendencies.
And I'd like it. I think the Series 5 version was pretty unfortunate to break down. Because I liked the Crusher on it. It was actually, and even the Series 4 version, to its credit, wasn't that bad.
I love the Series 4 version. What annoys me about Suicidal Tendencies is it's a robot that consistently did well, but for some reason never quite achieved a legendary status.
Yeah, it's like Smidsy in some ways.
Yes. I mean, it made 2 heat finals and came second in the tag team terror, for God's sake.
And it probably, it could have made heat final as well in Series 5. Yeah, easily. Yeah, I mean that and Razor would have been a good fight, but. Yeah, I mean, Suicidal Tendencies in this series, it has a drum that doesn't really do anything. I mean, does this thing ever spin? I swear, I don't remember any of this weapons ever working in this series at all. It just seems to just bash into its robots. I don't know. It's like it has a problem with tracks throughout the series as well. Like Series 4 and 3, it loses a track on both sides. That was the biggest issue. I mean, that's the problem with all tracked robots in fairness. They don't hide the tracks. Like Mortis can show that the tracks don't work very well in some instances, and Suicidal Tendencies admitted. Well, there is a moment later on this heat where, we'll talk about the Razor Blade Suicidal Tendencies fight in a bit, but I don't know. I'm quite curious about that because I mean, some people see it as controversial. I don't know.
I don't.
I know I don't really see it as controversial either. Some people, there are worse controversies this series than that. Believe me, T2. But
that wasn't that bad.
We'll get to that.
I'll explain why I think this.
We'll get to that one. You're on that heat, I think. Yeah, you are. So.
Oh,
we will.
Joy. What a heat this out of.
Yeah.
Why am I with all the crap?
you give all the controversies, I swear. But yeah, so that was Suicide Tendencies. The problem is, again, it's not a very interesting robot to talk about. It's just a tracked robot with a little drum that doesn't do anything. But it at least put up a good fight against Mace. I will admit that.
Yeah. There is much better to come.
Oh, definitely, yes. Now, who should pick first? I don't know, let's pick Razorblade. Why not? They're the better one of the two. Razorblade was the Killdozer team last series, and they appear again in Series 4. And honestly, Series 4 was very unfortunate there had to be a Hypnodisc heat. This heat, they got a much easier heat, and I think they could have had a good match against Mace too, but again, they lost to Suicidal Tendencies. Razorblade, I will admit, this series, it seems very uncontrollable. It just seems to go wherever it wants to. I mean, that probably is its downfall.
Yeah. I mean, they are a very good team, though.
Oh, they're a very good team, and it's a massive improvement over Killdozer.
That's why I like them, because they made interesting designs, and this is an interesting design. But I will admit, whilst it is an interesting design, like you said, it is quite flawed because it's ground clearance that I think you could fit a bus under, for example.
I agree with that.
You said, it's very hard to control, and because it's got what I like to call point syndrome, which is basically where it's got a narrow front, so it tries to get into robots, but because it's such a narrow front, it just sort of like glance off. Like Kilohertz. Anyway, sorry.
That's true. That's true. Kilohertz had that same problem, obviously. Yeah.
And Steel Avenger.
Steel Avenger, and yeah, there are a few robots that seem to have problems with that. And I mean, also this version of Killdozer didn't really have much of a weapon. It had a chainsaw, but this is Series 3. Come on. Yeah. Chainsaw. I mean, also it had a flipper in Series 4, which is much more of an improvement.
It had a lifter here.
It just never used it half the time.
Well, yeah, because it couldn't get underneath anything because it has the point syndrome.
See, this is why I forgot it had a lifter in Series 3. It didn't use it. But Razorblade's a very nicely designed robot. I will admit, it's sort of like if you made Steel Avenger more like a kind of lizard type thing. You end up getting this thing, and again, it's not a bad robot, but I mean, I think the driving has been able to let this robot down this particular series. I mean, next series it has an excuse, as in Hypnodisc seat. But here, yeah, I think it just kind of suffered from being a bit hard to control, and ultimately that led to it losing, really, in many aspects. But, yeah, I still like Razorblade, though. Still a good... Yeah. Again, it's better than Killdozer, because Killdozer was just kind of, in a very meh heat in general, so, yeah. It was the most meh of meh. And next we have... Wheelie Wacko, the first thwack bot to win a battle. I say win in very loose terms, but technically we did.
Thwack bot in very loose terms as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It barely rolled over, for God's sake.
Now this is the problem it had. I think they had an idea of it, but they forgot the key concept of a thwack bot is that you're supposed to thwack. Wheelie Wacko. I mean, give Stinger. Stinger wasn't very controllable. But give it credit, it thwacked a lot. Wheelie Wacko had, like, cement underneath this beer barrel shape it had. Actually made out of a beer barrel. And as a result, it would just kind of wobble from side to side. And then occasionally fall down. But it was sort of like, those kind of punching bags. It's like one of those. It doesn't actually fully roll down unless you really hit it. But I mean, what do you say about Wheelie Wacko? It's just kind of...
It was wheelie bad. I don't know.
Yeah, wheelie bad.
In all fairness,
it's not bad.
It did against a robot that was designed for pushing, it did pretty damn good to beat it.
Yes.
Considering it's a thwack bot, and thwack bots are quite easy targets to pushers. Just look at Stinger versus Tornado, for God's sake.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I mean, you can't. There's just not really much you can say, is there? See, this is the problem. This is annoying, right? We were looking forward to Series 3, and Heat A so far has been a lot of meh.
Actually, Series 3 is...
stuff we can't discuss.
I mean, at least Heat B has something, but Heat A doesn't have the most interesting robots in the world. Even the good robots are, But actually, the one thing I like about Wheelie Wacko, though, at least it worked. It didn't break down once. It looks like a bodge job robot. but it didn't break down.
Reliability-wise, it was pretty impressive, actually.
It took a lot of hits, granted, and, it worked all the way to the end. There's some robots like that, really fancy robots like Mortis, they can barely work a fight without something going wrong. But Willy Wackos are based out of a beer barrel, and it never broke down once in its 2 fights, while Mortis broke down in its second fight. So, take for that what you will. Honestly, say what you want about these kind of robots, but at least Willy Wacko at least worked. And they tried again in Series 4, but didn't make it. Probably because they were a bit outdated by Series 4 standards. I couldn't imagine it looking much different, to be honest. I've not seen a picture of it, so imagine it'd be identical.
Probably, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Quite a few Series 3 robots turned into Series 4 exactly the same.
Yeah, Terrapin, Hardvark try to do the same thing, I think. Probably a few more, but they're probably the primary targets I can think of. But
yes.
Yeah, alright, so that was Willy Wacko. Now for the 4 robots that didn't even manage to meet meh enough to get past the first round. We'll start with probably my favourite one, Red Dragon. I love the design of this thing. I like the fact that this robot is it's made by 2 people both called Tom Armstrong, which I find hilarious. It's like, Tom Armstrong and Tom Armstrong. Yeah, a very original name for your son there. But in all fairness, Red Dragon, I love the little crusher on this thing. It never really worked. We never saw it move at all, but it has there's an idea there. There is an idea to it. And it also actually had a self-writer. It has a self-writer. Actually, people forget that. It does have little things that come out the side,
yes,
which is rare.
I was going to say, it's very well designed for Series 3. It looked pretty, had an interesting weapon. Great self-writer, again, not really. That was still not a major thing by Series 3 standards.
Yeah.
But the one thing it lacked, sadly, was the one thing that Wheelie Wacko was good at, and that's reliability, sadly, and that's what let it down.
Because honestly, in this battle, it was actually doing better than Razorblade, because Razorblade was fucking about, running to the spikes, jumping into every house robot.
If that had gone to the judges, Red Dragon would have won purely on the fact that it was the remote-controlled robot.
Exactly, because it was so slow, it was easy to control.
Yes.
But yeah, I do like Red Dragon. It's just kind of a shame they never really came back, because I'd like to see a more sleek version of this robot. They could have made it a proper crusher, or maybe a flipper on it, something like that. Make it look a bit like, Red Virus, the American robot?
Oh, yes.
I also think that's the evolution of that, almost, in some ways. It looks very similar to it, colour scheme-wise. But yeah, I do like Red Dragon. It's just a shame you didn't get to say too much of this team, unfortunately. But that's the problem with reliability, you see. You got to work. You've got to work. Now, speaking of fail, Brimher. I don't want to say about Brimher. It's the most boring robot I've seen. It's just a grey slanted box with cutters on the wheel. It's not even a weapon, that is it? It's like something you get with your pizza. In the middle of it. It looks like one of those, made out of plastic or something. And the spike apparently is like a pneumatic spike. It actually moves.
But it was always out.
I never saw it move once, so apparently it's supposed to move, but it didn't. Oh yeah, spring loaded. That's probably that's a Series 3 thing to do. Spring loaded.
You probably thought the spring broke, so it just was stuck in the launch position.
Yeah, and it didn't really help the robot anyway. But Brimher is.
But it has the most amazing slogan ever, though. On the front, it said "Get the point." They get points for that. They do.
No, that's minus points for me. My God.
No, mate.
Punnage. No, too much punnage. But it's so slow as well. I was surprised about this thing being so slow. I thought it'd be fast, but.
Well, no, it's a rammer. Come on.
No. It's a ramming robot. It's 4-wheel drive, and you think surely this thing's gonna be fast. It's 6 miles an hour or something. It's as fast as Willy Wacko, and that thing just bobbles around doing nothing. So what?
Again, it's 4-wheel drive, so it should have a lot of traction, all that, and it couldn't even outpush a 2-wheel drive thwack block.
And it broke down from thin air. So
yeah,
that's a theme in this series. A lot of robots just break down for no reason in this series, like Series 5 as well. But it just seems like Brimher's just there. It's the most there thing I can think of. It's like a robot that's not that great, but it's not terrible. It's just Brimher.
Use some paint. There we go. That's
what I'm saying. It's just very dull as well. That grey colour, like Technophobic in Series 2. Just they said at least the Series 3 version's bright, but Series 2, meh. So I think we'll move to Stinger, an actual good robot this time. Stinger in Series 3 was a thing. It had a pizza cutter on it, apart from as opposed to the patented thwack spear they have. Yeah, there's a reason why this robot didn't do very well in Series 3.
Yeah. Well, Stinger, right, a legend in the making here.
Oh, definitely.
One of my all-time favourite robots. One issue with it, they didn't know how to drive it this year. Now, I'm going to say this right now. Right, before everyone says it, well, Stinger was always uncontrollable. No one knew how to drive it. Well, you're wrong. Okay,
yes.
You're just wrong. Because Kevin Scott was one of the best drivers. You try driving a Thwackbot. Okay, I mean, people turn around and say it had bad control because it kept hitting the floor with its mace. Well, it needed to hit the floor with its mace so it could contract it so they could hit robots again. You idiots. It needed to spin on the spot because that was its design. It was spun on the spot and hit robots.
Yeah, unfortunately the Series 3 version tried to be like a saw, momentum saw, which doesn't work.
Yes, it doesn't work at all.
And it seems, you could tell they had a lot of driving lessons between Series 3 and 4, because Series 3 version just went all over the place. It just did not know what it was doing in the slightest, and like, even by Thwackbot standards, it didn't know what it was doing. I mean, look at Gabriel in the last series. That's a controlled Thwackbot. Come on, that thing is so precise.
I know.
And to say a Thwackbot, and it's beautiful, and to say a Thwackbot are just random tear lols, let's go and fight things. They're not that. Yeah. They are controlled, and Series 4 Stinger proves that. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, look how many robots Stinger actually immobilized.
It KO'd at least 2 robots in its heat.
Yeah, in its heat. It KO'd Mousetrap.
Yes.
It gave Chaos 2 a very close call. And I mean very close. Like, to the point where I personally don't agree with that decision, but that's just me. We'll get to that. Eventually, when we get to Series 3.
Eventually.
I also, Series 5, it immobilized General Carnage. It immobilized Fluffy, for God's sake. Okay, it's Fluffy, but, still, reliability wasn't the best thing. But, it's a good robot. Just not in this series.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell they were doing. They were on cannabis or something, or on whatever it was, but they were just going all over the place.
It was definitely their first robot. It's kind of evident. But at least they actually went somewhere, and they improved, and they're not Forklifts Revenge. I mean, the original forklift was a forklift. This is
in
not...
In all fairness, right, they couldn't really come back with the original forklift after what happened to it.
No, they could have... I know, but... So, alright, I'm just going to say this to you, guys, if you're listening to this randomly. Forklifts Revenge isn't a forklift. It's a chain. That's not a fork, and not even lifting it. It doesn't even lift anything. And people realised, how many robots, like Anorachophobia tried the same thing. When will people realise that chain lifters don't work? They don't work, because they don't grab anything. Like, there's no teeth on it. Like, the teeth are the same size as the chain. So it's just a chain going round the robot.
Yeah.
And it looks so fragile, Forklifts Revenge. It looks like a robot's going to fall apart if I just flicked it.
And what I think is awful as well is that to get robots onto the chainsaws, it had those 2 little wedge flap things.
It didn't do anything.
And it's like, most robots will fit through that,
And also, it managed to take off part of the arena like tape when it's so low. And the chains at the back have this weird bump coming out of the back of them. Like, they're just going to get ripped off by anything that can poke into it. Like, if any spike came into that, they could just pull it out. Like, King Buxton could have a field day with that. Or Sir Kilot did.
Well, yeah, Sir Kilot did, yeah, exactly.
went straight up its arse and just lifted it up. It's basically just gutted it. It gutted it in the best way possible.
Getting prepped for Matilda. Anyway, sorry.
It was the first time we got to see Sir Kilot use his drill, and it was worth it, because...
Definitely.
I mean, yeah, we'll talk about that fight in a sec, but while there is something in it, I still don't really care, because it's Forklifts Revenge, so...
Yeah, the ground clearance as well was just daft. I mean, I'm sorry, there's... I moaned about Razorblade earlier, but this was something else. This was ridiculous. I mean, what was it? 5 centimeters?
I don't know, but it was large. It was, especially around the back. It got higher the further the robot got out the back, and it was just... It's supposed to be a wedge, but you're supposed to have some kind of low ground clearance on a wedge usually. I mean, look at something like Apollo. Like that thing's ground clearance is the size of like a 1p coin or something. That's ground clearance. That's a low ground clearance. You've got nothing there, mate. But I mean, yeah, Forklifts Revenge is just... There's a reason why this thing didn't come back, Yeah, it was pretty shite. I'm just gonna say it now. And it's just the whole concept doesn't work. Like, it's just conceptually, it's one of the stupidest ideas ever. Just chain lifters don't work, folks. And thankfully, that trend died pretty quickly in Series 3. We don't see more chain lifters after Series 3, I don't think. For good reason.
I don't think we did.
Do we?
No, I don't think we did.
No, it's just them and Anarachnophobia that used it. And yeah, it died as quickly as it started. Which is good. I don't want to see those things again. Unless you put proper teeth on them. Don't. You know, even then, what are you gonna do after that? Just have them stuck on top of your front. Unless it can go backwards, it's not going to be useful. It's going to pull them upwards. But yeah, so that was the robot, and we'll start with the battles then. We actually got battles. We're not going, right, who won the gauntlet? No, battles. Yes. And in our first fight, we had Mace 2 versus Stinger. I call this a fight. I just call it Mace trying to catch up with Stinger half the time. And then Stinger just bounced off and Mace into the pit.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That was one of the funniest moments.
Best hittings ever.
And it's the first battle. It did set off the heat quite well, admittedly. For a heat that's not that memorable, it did have a very funny first battle. Like, Stinger just constantly whacking about, and then, like, some people say, oh, Stinger drove into the pit. But no, actually, Stinger just bounced off Mace into the pit. Well, they couldn't be doing anything past the bounce. But, yeah, Stinger, it proved how Stinger definitely got their driving skills up to scratch in Series 4. Because Series 3 version, they clearly couldn't drive this thing, and it showed by the fact they couldn't even, like, go straight half the time without bouncing into an arena obstacle or something. And Mace... What could Mace really do against Stinger? Again, they couldn't flip it. So they just had to keep ramming it into random shit and hoping they would fuck up, and they did.
They did.
They did. Is there anything else to say about that battle?
Yeah.
It wasn't...
No, I'm just glad that Stinger got rid of that stupid saw.
Yeah, the highlight was definitely the end of the battle.
Yeah. I mean, to us, yeah, like you said, I mean, in all fairness, for a starting battle, this was pretty good, because it was crazy, it was quick, it was silly, it was funny, but yeah. So in all fairness, yeah, it was actually probably one of the ideal starts of the heat. Actually,
it was already
and an ideal starting battle as well.
It was already better than every battle virtually in Series 2 and 1. So
yes.
Yeah, that's something. Instantly, alone, the battles are getting better, and then you get a shit battle like Suicidal Tendencies versus Forklift Revenge, where you just got Suicidal Tendencies ramming up the ramp for about 5 minutes, not being able to do anything with the little drum. Forklift's Revenge taking off half the arena tape with it, just trailing around with it. And Joe, I was watching this today, and I forgot this battle so much. I forgot they went to the lower half of the arena at some point. I forgot that they went to the bottom bit, and I was like, oh yeah, they actually went there. I thought boring, but I just thought they stayed in the top bit the entire time. And then a little bit. There's one bit that's slightly controversial for me, only slightly, but again, it's mired by the fact I don't care about Faultless Revenge that much. But the fact that they barely went into that CPZ and Sakilot decided to just take them out there and then. I mean, they touched the edge of the PPZ. No, CPZ, sorry, I've got to get used to it now. Yeah. CPZ. And Sakilot just picked them up and spun them around like they were nothing.
Yeah, in all fairness, Sakilot was still getting used to the CPZ at this point. It wasn't his fault. You know, he turned up on the day and they were like, nah, mate, no more PPZ. We're doing the CPZ. He's like, bitch, please, what's all this? So he's trying to get used to a new resume and all that shit, you know.
He spun Faultless Revenge like candy floss, didn't he?
He did. I mean, I just think it was so swag how he did it. He just literally, with a flick of the wrist, way up you go, lad. Cheers, here we go. It
was the fact the fact that the parts of the robot started flapping off and falling down. It was like the robot was dying right in front of it.
Literally, the epitome of this battle was literally so he's trying to nudge it.
Yeah.
And then they're going towards Kidlot and getting gangbanged, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. In fairness, I think Suicidal Tendencies actually... Well, I think it looks like they were pushing them. In reality, I think Faultless Revenge was actually driving forwards. It can't have been pushing them that fast. Suicidal Tendencies is not that fast. No. But actually, a little bit, though. It's not... This kill, it's not as funny as Shell Shock in the later heat, where it almost goes out the arena. But it's definitely one of the funniest Circular Lot grabs of all time, probably. And yeah, Suicidal Tendencies won that because Faultless Revenge. I don't know. There was Faultless Revenge.
And got dumped in the pit.
Dumped in the pit. BRIM versus Wheelie Wacko. BRIM versus Wheelie Wacko, on the other hand, was the most boring battle of this heat. I'm just gonna say that.
Good God,
right, you got a robot that can barely move, and that's because it's so slow. It's supposed to be a pusher, it isn't. And a robot that's a thwack bot, that's supposed to be a thwack bot, and isn't. Bashing into each other, and somehow the thwack bot has more traction. Tell me how that works.
I don't get this. I don't get it. It's physically impossible.
I don't think...
Four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive.
It was one of those battles where I swear the BRIM didn't actually move past the halfway point of the arena.
No, it didn't. No,
it's like Bullseye.
It met them. They got shoved back. They ended up on the flame pit, and that was pretty much it, wasn't it?
I mean, this is a class of battles I would call I call them restricted battles of Series 3, where there are some battles where literally one part of the arena is used because one robot's so shit it can't move anywhere, like Hammertron or Vector or Bulldog Creed. These kind of robots, they just seem very limited battles. Like, I always forget that. Like, I get shocked when I see a robot go to the other side of the arena. Like, oh wow, that actually happened there. And didn't happen in this case though, because Brimmer barely went into the flame pit and then broke down. Where did it break down from? Like, what hit killed it? It didn't even do anything. It wasn't bashed it really hard against Stegosaurus or something, or
it just got bullied.
It got bullied. It got pushed back slightly onto the flame pit, and then Shunt managed to take out some good holes into it, which was very nice. Very nice to see. Yeah. What it deserved, in fairness.
Oh, Shunt's axe! Oh my gosh, this series.
we got to see it used for the first time.
Some of my favourite memories are of seeing Shunt's axe go through armour.
Atlas.
And this axe is the one.
Atlas is the best moment, but this was a good hit. Actually, no one was
this series, and then Banshee's probably my favourite series. My favourite of all time. Or Major Tom.
But all decapitations, oddly enough. But
the Shunt's doing House Shrimp without a head.
Yeah, I mean, this battle's so great. We're talking about other battles in future series and heats as opposed to the actual battle. Because I mean, Brimher just lost pretty pathetically. I'm not gonna lie, and I might as well just move on because out of the two, I prefer Willy Wacko anyway, just for the weirdness alone. But that was the battle, and then the final battle, Red Dragon versus Razorblade. Razorblade just decided to it hit him once, and then just decided to go into the spikes. Actually, both of them went into the spikes at one point, which I found hilarious. They're just Red Dragon got caught first, then Razorblade went, "Oi mate, I'm going to join you," then got stuck. And for some reason, the spikes were up a lot more longer than they should have been against Razorblade. They just got pinned and they couldn't do anything. Just let them go, and they were still trying to move.
Literally, this battle was nothing, was it? I mean, it was Razorblade out of control and Red Dragon dying,
and it just kind of danced around the arena, didn't it? Just kind of doing little pirouettes and just stopped.
This episode is going downhill quite quickly here.
Yeah, I mean, the more we talk about it, the more shit it starts getting. But actually, Sikilok got a nice kill on Red Dragon as well, with the little lance again. 2 twists for 2. And it was great, though. I mean, I think I actually know what happened to Red Dragon rewatching this today. I think the spike punctured something, and then it slowly started emptying. To that point where it just kind of emptied out so much it just died, or something.
It might have done. I mean,
I literally can't think of anything else that caused. I mean, it was hissing at the end of the battle. Remember? Maybe something did something. It punctured something. I don't know. It didn't really. If it was a tire, it would just would have won one wheeled, but it would have hobbled around a bit like Prince of Darkness. But here it's just. I don't know. It's just one of
black man.
It's honestly one of the few times, I think it's the only time I can think of, a robot just breaks down on air. It's used at least a hit or something, or a bash, or a push, or something, but here it just stopped.
Just stopped, yeah. There was a couple of others, but it was explained after, small talk in Series 4, it drove backwards and just stopped, but that's because it caught fire.
Yeah,
inside.
Here they're just hissing.
It's just done. It's done. It's oh lol, night. I'm out.
Yeah, and it was going to explode apparently. It was going to explode. I mean, funny. Do a chomp a lot and just explode.
There was never one of those. Yeah, I wish that happened. I actually imagined that actually happening once when I was a kid. I imagine that a robot just all of a sudden stops almost and just goes bang. All its pieces everywhere. That would have been hilarious. Somebody do it. Make a robot that will blow up. Please.
We'll see how. So we'll check the rule book for that one for Series 10.
Yeah.
So that's not technically allowed. It's not technically a projectile weapon, but part of my robot will turn into it.
Call it shrapnel. Call it shrapnel.
Better than the other shrapnel. Jesus.
Yes.
But so we have Willy Wacko, Mace 2, Suicidal Tendencies, and Razorblade making it to the next round. And first off, Mace 2 versus Willy Wacko is pretty easy. easy battle for Mace, to be honest, because they could do fuck all to them. It was a wedge.
It was basically Mace showing this is how you push Brim her.
Yeah, and it does some good pushing, and it was a right old shove to the pit, and one of the few times I've ever seen, probably the only time I've seen Sir Kilowog pick a robot out of the pit and then further humiliate them. I've never.
It's a Robo Chicken in Series 6.
Oh yeah, but this is more memorable for me because it's fact it was already because it was the first one. It was already in the pit, and they just put it over the flame pit, and Willy Wonka's wheels were still spinning. Like somehow they could get away from this.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
It was so funny. Like
it's the only real time it happened in series. I mean, like a couple of times where it would have been in the pit and they'd still be attacked, but this was just literally nothing happened.
No,
they just for some reason decided let's just take it out and annihilate it. Maybe they were bored.
Yeah,
I can understand why.
Yeah, this heat's like this, but yeah, that was really all that battle, to be honest with you. I mean, the problem is a lot of these battles early on are quite quick, but there are some battles that actually are more interesting, especially the next heat. Unfortunately for you, sorry. But, and Heat C, which Sam also gets Heat C, and I'll be.
Heat D, I'm glad I'm not part of, because that's a really good looking heat. I mean, I remember that heat being really good as well.
Sorry, Alex has got that one, but yeah.
Well, I'm not in it now till Heat F, am I?
No, you're a bit light this series early on. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Imagine you're a prominent.
Fucking yes, thank God for that. Oh wait, no, that's crap.
You got Heat. You got Heat P.
Oh, for God's sake!
And you got... Actually, no, you didn't get L. Sam got L. Okay, fair enough. Okay, 2 for 3. 2 for 3. But
that's Sam's first Heat, in it, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. C and L. Wow. Alright, let's get to the next battle. This one, now, people seem as controversial. I don't see why. Suicidal Tendencies versus Razorblade. This heat's got a lot of robots I can barely pronounce half the time. Especially trying to say those two back to back. But fortunately, I'd have to see them back to back again because Razorblade. Yeah, Suicidal
Razorblade. That's quite dark, isn't it? Jesus.
Yeah, Suicidal Razorblade. That's another rock band. You've been like making lists of bands, haven't you?
Yes.
We had Death Jester, we had Shadow Fiend, and now we have Suicidal Razorblade. But back to this one. Suicidal Tendencies broke one of its tracks locked up. I remember, so it didn't really. It was spinning on one side, and then Razorblade decided to just get into the pit somehow. It just again terrible driving by the Razorblade team because it showed in the last battle that they weren't that great at driving the robot, and this proved it because they couldn't even get a robot that was barely working into the pit.
The controversy happened like this. Obviously, eventually the rules changed, so if a robot was dead on one side, it would be dead be considered dead, full stop. So a lot of people thought, Razorblade shouldn't have lost. Suicidal Tendencies were immobile on one side. And a lot of people believe, that Razorblade didn't technically count as being in the pit because whilst it drove onto the lip of the pit and dipped down, it didn't hit the bottom.
No.
Problem is, in Series 3, that rule doesn't count, the whole being immobilised on one side. That wasn't introduced until Series 4. Hence why the Suicidal Tendencies were surprised they lost against Wheelie Big Cheese. We'll get to that. But, when it comes down to the pitting rule, as again proved in Series 4, Jesus Christ, we'll get to that as well. Firestorm versus the Borg.
Oh God!
The whole idea, basically, if a robot goes onto the pit or over a section of the pit and can't get away, it was considered as in the pit. Hence why when Missile and Wild Willie got stuck over the edge of the pit, they were considered as in the pit because they couldn't get away. Yeah. Hence why the House Robertson came in and put them in. So whilst Razorblade technically hadn't fallen all the way in, it couldn't get away, so it was counted as pitted.
That's fair enough.
And that's the way it works.
I mean,
that's what they lost.
I mean, Mr. Psycho constantly keeps saying how the rules don't make sense. To me, they just make sense. You're just not listening to the rules, in my opinion.
Yes.
But the rules are very simple.
You push this, so listen.
If you can't get away from the pit, you're counted as pitted. That's the whole point. You can't just say, well, we're close enough to the pit, but you can still get out of it. If you can't drive off the pit, you can't get out of it, essentially. You might as well be in the pit at that point.
Look at Plunderbird versus Sir Chromalot.
Exactly, yes.
They drove over the edge of it, yeah, but they were classed as in because they couldn't get off.
Yeah, exactly. It's just one of those things that you just can't get off it. And it's like the grill in some ways.
Yes.
If you're just stuck on the side of it, you can't get out of it, you're still immobilised. So that's it. I don't agree with the grill, but that's what the rules were. And obviously Series 4 is when they gave in the what the broken on one side you're not allowed rule, which didn't explain Behemoth in the Series 6.
It didn't.
No,
that was a bit of a cack-up on their part.
Bit unfortunate considering in the previous heat, Hass's Hog got eliminated because of the same reason. But
yes,
in Series 8, they decided basically amended the rules basically that if you still have controls movement, Apollo, you can still go around the arena to a reasonable degree, you're fine. So Apollo was still fine at that point. Just because they got a wheel ripped off didn't mean they were out. But obviously, in cases like this, Suicidal Tendencies didn't have controlled movement, but at the time it was not considered a rule. That's it. Out. That's all I can say about it. It's just it was at the time it was allowed, and Razorblade. In fact, it was also Razorblade's fault because they drove straight into the pit as opposed to like being like a house robot doing it or something. It was sort of their error. So, I mean, Millie Ambog did a very similar thing later on. Probably one of the biggest cock-ups of this series, hands down.
Yes.
But yeah. And before we get to the grand final, there is a side event of the heat, and it is the pinball. Pinball is back. It's a side event now. It remains basically Series 3 and 4 pinball are very similar because they have we have the targets, you have the ramp you can go over. The house robots are sometimes a bit harsh, but most part it's not too bad.
The only difference between the Series 3 and 4 pinball that I can think of, apart from there being one pit less and no bricks, is they replaced Shunt with Sergeant Bash. No, not Sergeant Bash, sorry, Shunt with Matilda. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's the only difference, because of course Shunt was in the Sumo that series, so he didn't even pinball.
And we get a appearance of another future great, a bit like Stinger, Dominator. If you don't remember, if you somehow have forgotten the Dominator 2 exists, I can understand that you might have forgotten this one, because it only appeared in the pinball. Because actually that's one thing I liked about the pinball. Unlike in Series 4, and including the Sumo as well, there were robots that didn't manage to make it into the series. They got to show off stuff. I mean, in the case of this one and Six Pack, it was actually one that makes you wonder why they weren't in the series. In the case of Eye of Newt and Oblivion 2, there's a reason why they didn't make it in. But at the same time, though, we got and also Rocks 2 as well. But I was actually include Quizzes 2 in that. That was okay. That was fine. But Dominator, the weapon I guess is just a pusher. The jaws don't move. So it's got
like a ramming spike on the front.
Sort of. It's kind of questionable what the weapon is on this thing, but it actually did really well. It set the record for a while. This robot was the lead at 160 points. That was considered good back then, although Roadblock completely beat that in the semi-final 2 last series. But beside the point, makes you wonder why Beast Bobbin didn't have a go at it. They would have dominated that.
It does actually, in all fairness. I would have dominated it.
Yeah, actually, that was an accidental pun, but I'll take it. Yes, Dominator actually did really well, and then got fucked up by the house robots so badly. It's on the reel every single week. Every time they show it, I guess the Shunt almost splitting the front in two. Sergeant Bash Dead Mel giving him a little trip to the dentist, and it just seemed to like hate Dominator after a certain point. Like, oh, you got too many points, right? You're out of here. You kick him out of the nightclub. But
basically.
But Dominator 2 was actually, it makes you wonder why it wasn't in the series. It was fast. It had decent control.
Looked good.
It looked good. It looked very nice. But like Six Pack again, decent control. I think the only problem with Six Pack, I think maybe they didn't make it in the series because they had problems with the transmission.
They did,
they cut out many times.
In the auditions, they kept cutting out, and they were considered unreliable.
But Dominator 2, come on, really? But I mean, it didn't have any problems whatsoever. After getting beaten by the House Robots, it was still functional. They just got trapped. But yeah, I mean, Dominator 2 had a very good run. That's all I can say, really. It was just a really good run, 160 points. Until Razor, it was basically the best run. It was the second best run of the entire series.
It also had, in my opinion, probably the single greatest ever multi-ball release.
The little flick.
Kit.
The little
flick.
Yeah,
they flicked the barrel into it. They flicked the barrel and it rolled into the multi-ball and released them over. Absolutely incredible.
You can't get better than that.
Although I think Smidgy in Series 4 drifting and just nicking it with the corner of their robot as they drift.
No, I think the barrel was better though, because it was like, didn't have to touch.
Oh yeah, the barrel was better, but that was like a close second.
Yeah, indeed, yes. Actually, I forgot about this Smidgy one. That was pretty good. But yeah, so Dominator managed to dominate in the pinball and get 160 points. And that, I said, that lead until Razor, very late in the game, may I add. Razor was like second to last or something like that. Beat them in a very good run as well. You know, granted, I'll give them credit. Razor, that was a good run. But still didn't stop you from getting pinned to the floor, did it? Oh, Ian Lewis, you're going to cry about sportsmanship again? Oh. Sorry about that. Sorry, I couldn't resist that. I couldn't resist it, but... I mean, that
was Kenko Extra Roast 5. That was, like, you know.
I mean, after the horrible thing about Behemoth last heat, that one was more. I mean, unlike that one where there's actually a justification for it. I'm sorry, that Razor one was so dumb. No, I love that, but we'll get to that one when we get to it. But I can't wait to talk about how fucking stupid Ian Lewis was in that.
I'm in that heat, aren't I? I think I'm in heat B.
I think you are. I'll just check my little notes. You are. Yeah, you are. You are.
Oh,
I can't roast.
Can't wait for that one.
Get your spit out ready. We're going to roast something.
Yeah.
And we'll stop talking about roast and get to the heat final, which is pretty underwhelming, to be honest with you. Mace 2 versus...
Yeah.
Mace 2 versus...
I quite liked it, actually.
Granted, it went to a judge's decision, so it lasted all the way. Suicide Alternatives didn't break randomly, which it sometimes has a tendency to do. It's broke down every series in some way. But...
It was basically just Mace making Suicide Alternatives his bitch, though, let's be fair.
Yeah. Actually, it was actually Mark's... Sorry. You go on.
It's just there wasn't a point where Suicide Alternatives was actually on top at all. Like
no, it got axed by Shun. It just kept again, like with Faultless Revenge, just kept driving up the wedge and not able to do anything. It got flipped over multiple times, which is Mace 2 got to show off his lifting weapon properly, which was nice to see actually. And I was gonna say this is the only time Suicide Alternatives has ever lost without breaking down.
Yes.
Because it lost in Series 4 and it lost in Series 5 completely because it broke down. And in Series 4 it broke down on one side and that cost it. While in Series 3 it actually managed to last all the way through the battle. So, fair play to Suicide Alternatives who actually lasted all the way. That's not an achievement. By Series 3 that's not an achievement by now, honestly. No. But Series 2, yes. Series 3, no. But, yeah, I mean, Mace 2 definitely deserved this win. They probably were the best robot in this heat, to be fair. So... it wasn't a big surprise. I mean, the experience as well, plus also the fact they had relatively easy opponents, I'd say, got them through. But at the same time, though, they did actually have a lot of skill. They pushed Wheelwacker into the pit. They managed to get some good hits on Suicide Alternatives with the flipper. Stinger was more of a luck draw, obviously, but yeah, that's part of the luck. Napalm knows all about luck.
In all fairness, I mean, this was probably one of the most dominant displays in a heat. I mean, there wasn't a single battle where Mace was actually troubled, is there?
Never really. Probably that in Chaos 2.
It's Series 3, along with Chaos 2's heat, obviously.
And yeah.
I mean, Chaos 2 was probably, is easily the heat where it had like the least amount of trouble. Firestorm was pretty close.
Yeah.
But I think Mace was pretty high up there as well in that regard for Series 3.
Yeah, I'd probably say so. Also on Trident, but Trident has a really easy heat to begin with.
Yeah,
so I cannot wait for that heat. Because again, I don't hate it as much as you do, but yeah, it's not, I still hate C and L a lot more. But yeah, it's probably number 3 of the worst. Actually, no, International League actually goes third. Actually, I'm gonna put it third.
International League was dog.
It was pants.
I'm in that one as well.
Yeah, you're in that one. That's pants.
You hate me. You actually hate me.
But yes, also before we get to our wrap up of the episode, Barnyard alert. Dragon, because we had Red Dragon in this heat, and I do a little thing called Barnyard alert this series because this is the Barnyard series. Definitely. This is Series 3. Every heat, apart from 1 or 2, I believe it's Gravediggers? Yeah, Gravedigger. Yeah, that's Gravedigger's heat, I believe. I think, yeah, Gravedigger's heat. The only one that doesn't have anything's based off an animal. We have dragons, we have cows, we have pigs, we have lots of crocodiles and sharks, and random and actually 3. Cause what? Sorry.
A couple of beetles in there.
Beetles, yes. We've got random shit. Everything seems to appear. And this is the Barnyard series, and the Barnyard animal of the week is dragon. So I sound like some kind of like educational program. Can you spell dragon?
No. No. In all honesty, I mean, it's a bit of a stretch, but I guess you could kind of say Stinger because it's kind of based on a Scorpion. Well, actually, it was more based on the Scorpion series 4 onwards, wasn't it? So I won't count that one.
Even then, I don't think it's really that big. I mean, because apart from the name, it doesn't really have a Scorpion-like look to it. It's just got a tail.
Razorblade looked like a lizard.
It's not really based off one though. It just looks like it's got a kind of scaly look to it. But Red Dragon is a dragon. There's no denying that one. I mean, you can push it like things like Manic Mutant. You're not trying with that. You're not doing that. No, that's trying to push it too far or something. Yeah, something like that. But this is a well-defined dragon, and he's a red dragon of Wales. Not from Wales somehow. Yeah, the general is genius. But yeah, so that was you're right there.
Sorry, that was quite funny. That was just so random. That was quite funny. Sorry.
So I'm not saying they can't come from Wales. I just find it funny that it's called General from Wales. I don't know. It's just two things I'd never think to put together. But anyway, I bet someone's going to come in the comments and go, actually, Wellington was from Wales. So yeah, I'm like, okay, I don't care. Overall, all right. So, what would you reckon this Heat then out of 10?
Well, it started great. In all fairness, I mean, it's not as bad as a Heat A series 2. Obviously, I don't think anything is that bad. But in all honesty, again, as a starting point for a series, I mean, something that's going to get the audience interested in the new show, or like potential new audiences invested. It kind of fell flat again.
A little bit. Not as bad as Heat, obviously, series 2, but
not as bad as series 2, but it fell pretty flat. So I mean, there was some good stuff in there, some good robots, Future Legends. Can't moan that one. The house robots looked pretty hardcore in there. The battle, there was a couple of good battles, some interesting designs, but it just sort of fell flat overall. So I'm gonna give it a fair 4 out of 10.
4 out of 10. That's not too bad. I mean, series 3 mediocre isn't as bad as series 2 mediocre. So we'll step it up a bit. But
series 2 good was still bad. So
yes, that's true. Series 2,
apart from 101's here. Sorry, King Buxton's Heat.
The Iron Masters exist, but anyway, that wraps up Heat A of Series 3. Hey up, we've made it. And now we'll just quickly go on to Heat B, who's next up, because Sam will be joining me for that one. He'll be joining me for the next 2 actually. Then it'll be Alex the Hunted, and then you've got all the way till Heat F. We'll see you again. Feel a bit weird, like I'll be ages away from. I mean, actually, weirdly, I'll probably see you next on Sam's episode 4 before I see you on my series again.
More than likely, yeah.
That's weird. I mean, yes, I'm on the because obviously Worm is in that Heat, so I had to be in it. But obviously, I was very impromptu this week as well. But that's not a regular thing. I know Anson hasn't been given up. He's not part.
I was sadly very busy that day.
Yeah.
I was unfortunately busy literally it was out of nowhere, wasn't it, James? It was literally like a couple of hours before. I was like, sorry, James, I can't do it. Can you cover me, Cheers?
Yeah, I was like, fair enough. But next week we have, actually I say next week, probably this Sunday, we have some decent robots. We have Pitbull, the first Crusher, like crushing jaws, that actually worked. Behemoth.
Good robot.
Very good robot, massive improvement from Series 3, and honestly, from this series onwards, it doesn't change too much from Series 2 after Series 2. But my god, is it a great robot. Again, just very unlucky. Every series is something that fucks it up. There's always something. It's a bit like Razor in some ways, but more prolonged.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, actually, Series 4 was their best effort, I think. Hands down.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, better than the Series 8, in my opinion. And then, obviously, we have General Carnage, the Prometheus team. Now they're General Carnage. Little grabber.
General Carnage.
Little grabber. Well, we have Technophobic. It's yellow now.
Technophobic look cool.
Actually, it actually is memorable now.
Yeah. What I thought was quite funny about it is that the spike on it looked like an eye.
A little bit. Yeah, actually a little bit. Yeah, I can see that. And it sat on fire, but it did alright, I guess. Yeah. RoboCow, hands down one of the worst robots of the series. I'm just going to say that out loud now. I'm sorry, actually a little bit. A lot of the first round competitors are actually pretty shit in the Heat because we also have a Baden.
It's literally called a Baden. Yeah.
It's a Baden, and it's terrible, and it's awful, and it's a Baden. Shark Attack, a battle so boring that you had the same shot twice at different angles. Because it didn't last that long. And the only okay first robot was Something, and that was the one that broke down right instantly, of course, because it's made out of scrap. What else is going to happen? It's one of those robots where you see it and you think, well, it could do okay. It could be a dark horse. It looks kind of cool. No. Alright.
No, out you go.
It never lived to its potential, ever. I mean, it had a decent try next series, but then it fucked itself up. And in Series 5, it lost to the quote-unquote wives of the Razor team, the quote-unquote, putting in one of the worst heats of Series 5, so there we go.
Oh, yes.
You think is it your least favourite? I think it is.
My least favourite heat Series 5.
It's up there. I have to rewatch it.
No,
I haven't planned Series 5 yet, but you'll definitely be in it. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah. Because you hate.
Yes, I do. I just thought I'd tell you now. But this is that was Heat A. That is Heat B, and Sam will be joining me for that. So I'm Jimjamatic signing off.
I'm Anderson 9132. I'm gonna go and I don't know, drink some Prozac in a bin. All right.
Okay. Bye.